This podcast is brought to you by Barry's Tea. Family owned since 1901, Barry's Tea have spent many years perfecting their tea blends. And for me, Barry's Tea is the best tasting tea in Ireland. I really like the Barry's Tea Master Blend, crafted with the expertise of their master blender, who told me personally they only use their highest quality leaves for a richer, full-bodied flavour. It's one for true tea connoisseurs. Barry's Tea also brings with it a sense of home, belonging and connection. Just one sip of Barry's Tea and you're home. So stick the kettle on, make a cup of Barry's Tea and enjoy the podcast. Welcome to Roasted with me, Mark Moriarty, where I chat with notable people about their lives through the wonderful world of food and drink. Standing in front of me, I have someone who is clearly into food and drink, Mr. Brian O'Driscoll. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So in front of you, now you won't see this if you're listening in, Brian has a dish, a breakfast dish. Part of the thing we did before you came on was to basically ask you what food you were into at the moment. And you said Greek yogurt.
What a drip.
Greek yogurt. So let me push this.
I was trying to be like something that I am eating a lot of at the moment is Greek yogurt, largely because it's around healthier snacking. That's basically it, around like Greek yogurt or skier bowls or, you know, yogurt dressings or, you know, better snacks like Greek yogurt and peanut butter and honey with some dark chocolate and salt and you know, frozen bites, all that stuff. Just trying to make slightly better choices. So that's why I chose
still with a bit of flavour.
Yeah, but still, I'm not giving it up completely. I'm not a calorie counter, but I have a fair idea what I consume from a daily basis point of view. But food is such an integral part that I want to still have that chocolate hit every day, or taste, you know, having really nice smoothies and putting time and care and effort into it. So that's why I chose it. I'm sure I could have chosen a million different ingredients, but that's what you got. That's what you got. So this looks great.
So there you go. You crack into that. You don't have to speak quite.
Am I having
that's
a go
for you.
at it?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
So basically, it's a bit of Greek yogurt, savoury. There's some braised lamb shank there. There's a bit of Greek salad. Lovely breakfast at whatever time it is, 10:30 in the morning here in Dublin. While you're eating that, I'm going to blow smoke up your you-know-what and go through your career statistics.
Oh my God,
all the research I've done.
That is good.
That's all right?
Yeah, very, very good.
Okay, good start.
It's never too early for lamb shanks.
And it's not sweet, so we put a load of salt and lemon juice and sort of lemon zest through the yogurt to jazz it up. So, Brian O'Driscoll, 3 European Cups with Leinster, 2 Six Nations, including the 2009 Grand Slam, 4 Lions tours, including captain 2005, which went great. All-time...
Let's talk about that for the rest of the podcast.
All-time Six Nations try scorer, inducted into the World Rugby Hall of Fame 2016, and in recent years, analyst for BT Sport, ITV in the UK, and I just put down numerous business ventures. I thought that was a nice three-worder that sums all that up. Brian has just finished his breakfast. All good?
It was very, very tasty. Yeah.
So
really good.
Going through your career list, you're retired, 10 years now?
Yeah, 10 years, just 10 years.
How does that make you feel when it's read out?
It doesn't feel like 10 years. Really doesn't feel like 10 years. It feels like that's gone so fast. Considering, you know, you have a 15-year career, that's 2/3 of your rugby playing career gone. So, yeah, I think, do you know what, the first year is not too bad, because you get to take advantage of all the invites and all the exciting stuff and go to Wimbledon and parties and things that you weren't able to do. And then you go through a full cycle of it and you go, oh, it was brilliant. And then you look at the guys playing rugby and certainly teammates you're still friends with, and you're like, yeah, but that's much better.
Yeah.
And I think years 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, my wife would say 7 and 8, are definitely a big challenge. And I think in the last 3-4 years, I've gotten more comfortable with what I'm doing now as in different parts of my career, gotten a little bit better at it, hopefully. And then separation from the game, distance from it. Some of those teammates that I left and was envious of, even they're beginning to retire. Even Sexto, has finally retired. Thanks be to God. We can stop shoving it up our noses around his constant high achievement. So, yeah, it's...
And did you have a plan when you retired?
No, you have an idea. Like, I tried to set up be involved in a couple of businesses. I got connected with a mentor through a mentor scheme that our old Irish manager, Mick Carney, set up with EY. And so I connected with a guy and we were involved in a business together that actually still functions, that I've stepped away from, but it was very heavy tech, which was not my thing, combining rugby and tech. And then I kind of looked at other things, and I was a bit foolish with, I was looking at getting into sports agency as well while I was still a player, and that was never going to work. And so when I actually left, I technically had nothing, but then pretty quickly, negotiated a deal with BT Sport, which got the rights to, half the rights to Europe. And so I knew I was going to be covering good games. And for me, it was a stopgap until I found that eureka moment as to what I was going to do with the next iteration
as well at that point.
But you never think that way. You're thinking, what am I going to do? There's a panic that comes.
I'm out of college again.
Yeah, exactly. I have to start from the bottom. And so then things like Off the Ball, and then there was a continuation of contracts like being involved with HSBC, and then all of a sudden you're kind of working your way through them, thinking there's a finite time period for this until I find that next thing. And here we still are. 10 years on.
Yeah, keeps going.
And actually I'm way more at rest because I've got lots of business interests as well, some kind of investment things. I've learned a lot in that regard, even from my own branding point of view, around what I had offered in the early years to what I'm willing to do now. It's just part of life. It's a experience, learning curve. Mistakes, don't make them again. So I've made plenty of them, as much as I've made a couple of good decisions as well. So the process has been enjoyable, challenging at times because you're totally out of your comfort zone. You have so much to learn, but I've enjoyed that aspect too, and feel as though I'm in a more knowledgeable place 10 years on than I was when I came out.
It's comforting to know that you still have that fear that I'll be gone tomorrow. Like everyone has waking up in the morning. Of course you do, because there's always the next cycle coming through. There's always the next iteration, particularly in sport, where someone's more relevant, a greater connect to the game, particularly from an analytical or punditry point of view, or even in the corporate world, there's always need to freshen things up. But I suppose a bit similar to my playing days, that from a kind of an ambassadorial side of things, I would have had long-term relationships with kind of 3 brands rather than flitted and changed every other year. And I think that's something that I've really tried to focus on doing since I've retired. And, Off the Ball, BT Sport, now TNT, and HSBC in particular, those 3 have been there the whole time, and picked up 1 or 2 others along the way. So yeah, it's been, I think it's trying to invest in them and them invest back in you, and over deliver, and make sure you don't you don't promise something that you can't turn up with. Bring me back then. So as a kid, food podcast, talking about food in your childhood, or the interest. Yeah,
I'm the son of 2 doctors, so obviously there's a lot of an existence of pretty healthy living. I think now to what my kids get from a treat point of view, like every day's a treat day. And whereas, if I unpacked the shopping for my mum, I used to get a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 bar back in the day. And on a Friday night, my dad, home from surgery, used to bring us a crunchy, or sorry, a flake, not a crunchy, a flake. Yeah. And then, too much sugar. And then, so I remember like crumbling the flake up and getting a straw and hoovering up that way. That was my technique. And then after swimming on a Sunday, we might get 10p to buy like a 10p bag of sweets. So, and that wouldn't necessarily 10p. Always be the same. Yeah, 10p. Wow. Yeah, punts.
Wow. You got sweets for 10p back in the day?
Yeah, and you used to get a lot. You'd get a lot for that.
Penny sweets are 5 cents now, are they?
Then probably, yeah, probably. So, yeah, you know, but now it's a battle every single meal, every single moment of the day of trying to, no. I'm constantly telling my kids, you don't know how good lucky you have it and how much stuff you get. I've literally morphed into my dad.
What do they get?
Listen, you know, it's so hard to control things outside the house. And so I think that's why I'm probably a bit anal about trying to make sure that we start the day well. And depending on who you're listening to, you know, see online like Andrew Huberman, guys that are, you know, experts in nutrition and well-being, will tell you about, you know, protein breakfasts. I try and do that myself. It's such a hard thing to do for your kids. So starting with a good cereal, except for weekends. So something that, you know, a porridge or as low in sugar as it possibly can get. I have recently gotten back to making brown bread for my family again. So we're trying to get away from packaged bread. So things that have lots of additives and preservatives, lots of sugar in them. So I haven't eaten bread for 5 months, which is killing me, but it makes it even harder because when you're making the bread too. So I made it.
You up every morning?
I got up early this morning. Well, what I usually do is I'll mix it the night before, and then I'll just wait for, you know, because I'm up early. I'm usually kind of rise around 6. So I was up doing Pilates this morning, so I did this, got in the oven, and then headed off.
I've read in Pilates before.
That's my life.
In the morning.
What's
That's
happened?
dad life.
What's happened? I used to be coming in from Zaytoon at 6.
What, coming in from Zaytoon while you're playing rugby?
Well, at times, yeah. Sometimes, yeah. Like we used to have it. We used to know how to give it a good go. Yeah. Back in the day, yeah, there was, you know, if there was an after party to be had, you know, I was never that far away from it.
And where was the after party, and what was the order in Zaytoon?
Whatever they had left. Usually it was whatever they had left over, because, you know, I've once or twice had knocked on the window. And we're closed. Go, oh, come in, one of our best customers.
This is the perks of being the Irish rugby captain.
And if you know, I was like, I'll eat anything. Yeah, I remember when I started going out with my missus, when we started living together, I brought her a kebab home. She hadn't been out with me, but I brought her a kebab home as well, and went up to the bed. Yeah, it was the old, this is how much I love you. I thought about, you might be peckish. She goes, I'm okay. More for me. 2 kebabs were consumed that night.
What time of the day is this?
I like 4:30, 5 in the morning.
Very coherent.
Yeah. So...
And when you're going to do your brown bread, are you going, like, do you do the grocery shopping in the house? And
we mix it. The both of us do. Yeah. Both of us, yeah. But I don't like doing online. I don't like online. I want to be able to pick my own vegetables, my own fruit in particular.
Yeah.
So
you pack up the kids and you go off.
Well, I did on Friday. I had three of them with me down in Duns. So like which is a challenge.
Do people be annoying you?
No, people. I think you're down there every week. Yeah. I go to the same butchers beside Duns, so I'll go in and get my shopping, and then get my butcher meat, and yeah, we kind of don't buy for a week.
Yeah.
We'll buy for 3 days, probably a couple of shops a week, and then we'll share who cooks. My missus is really good at 3 or 4 things, and then I'll similarly probably go back to the same sort of stuff. I'll do most. If we're doing Sunday dinner, I'll probably cook it.
Yeah. What's the signature dish? If you're trying to impress now, not a Zaytoon kebab.
No, like I'll probably get the smoker out and do like a pulled pork, or I like this, like a smoked chicken. Is amazing. Actually, I've done Christmas dinner on the smoker a couple of times, which is a risk first time without on a turkey.
Yeah.
Right. But it worked out okay. People are still alive, so which is good. Which is a good starting point.
But you're the traditional sort of almost man food. It's barbecue. It's meat. It's
but
not doing that midweek.
But then salads. No, it's like salad stuff as well. I don't know. I've defrosted. I had a couple of chicken breasts that I knew we weren't going to eat on Friday because I was going away Saturday, Sunday, so I froze them. So I've taken them out for lunch today. I'll probably just literally put some spice bag mix on them, and my daughter loves that, so I'll make a chicken salad with it, and it'll carry for tomorrow if it's not all eaten. So that stuff, it's cooked with the knowledge that most of the time it will be eaten. There's sometimes things thrown out which I'm my father's son. Like I'm the dustbin in our house. Like I was eating Friday's the remainder of Friday's meal last night when it was just before bed. So and best before dates are only ish. Yeah.
And have you tough critics in your house between kids and wife?
Yeah. But the kids are kind with their criticism. It'll be a soft landing. They're never overly forceful. But again, you end up cooking for them. So like Friday, I cooked teriyaki salmon and egg fried rice, and it's one of my daughter's favorites. So anytime that
what age is she?
She's 11. So she's like,
you want a job?
She's like, Dad, what's for dinner? I was like, you're gonna love me. She goes, tell me it's the teriyaki salmon. So, and it's unreal. So it's a lot more expensive, getting organic salmon.
Yeah.
But the difference is unreal.
Yeah,
it really is. And so you mightn't necessarily do it every week, but I probably do that meal once every 10 days, and yeah. You know that it's going to be more expensive, but the difference is phenomenal.
And going back, like when you were a kid, were you eating teriyaki salmon and fried rice?
But we really would have eaten very well. We wouldn't necessarily have eaten out a huge amount. Kind of Wong's Chinese in Clontarf would have been our go-to as a family.
Was special.
Yeah, times are different, with regard to eating out in restaurants. Options, and even if you think about the restaurant quality you can get delivered to your door now with Deliveroo and Uber Eats and all that. So, we would have always eaten well.
Your mum cooked?
Very much my mum. Very much my mum. My dad I don't know if he could cook for himself if she's away. It's not like she's cooking 3 dinners in advance of making sure that he's fed. He's very capable, but my mum is a cook in the house, yeah.
And when you went in then to sort of teenage years and obviously sport and rugby takes over, like how did food play? Obviously it's a huge thing now, but back then when you were in school, say, how important was food?
Not nearly as important as it is now. Yeah. With regard to understanding it, I think when you become an athlete, and even in the early years of being an athlete, because felt like you could nearly eat anything you wanted because we were burning so many calories, and because you're young too, you're in your early 20s. Whereas if you look at now, if you transported yourself, your 20-year-old self, into the environment now, you'd have a completely different understanding of the necessities of being a good pro. We were very early. The game turned pro in 96. Yeah. I started in 99. We were playing with a load of guys that had been amateurs, and then all of a sudden they were paid, and you can't flick a switch in that regard. So we didn't fully grasp it until all of that group of players that had been amateurs retired.
Was gone.
And just the penny dropped that. Yeah. How are we not winning? Yeah. Maybe have a good hard look at yourselves, and then sure enough, get your act together. No more semi-final drops.
What were the biggest differences between that old guard and now that sort of professional era?
I think the guys coming out of school, I think there was a kind of different factors. I think the maturity of some of us as players, the realization that we had to change our ways. We had overseas players come in that were ahead of the curve, ahead of us in Ireland, around trying to inform us as to what the expectation was as pros. And then, and then just a greater understanding that we needed to really be diligent around what we were putting into our bodies. Yeah. Like in the early years, remember, the first camp that I went to, we were in team room, and like I saw Trevor Brennan, right, who was like an enforcer from Barnhall, and and like go over to the fridge and we'd be piling a load of Lucozade Sport into his bag to head off to his room. You know, like drinking Lucozade Sport just before you're heading off to bed. It was like, oh, we're athletes. This is what we're meant to do. Lucozade Sport gives you energy, you know. It's real. It was like such a major naivety to it.
And you're like, oh, if he's doing it.
Yeah, I'm like, is he rifling all that stuff? Like, why is he putting it all in his bag? And someone sees me and is like, oh, no, we can take that stuff. I was like, oh my God, we get free Lucozade Sport. This is so cool playing for Ireland.
And what then when you're in camp, like what is the food situation?
It's great. There's so much, variety. I've been there for 10 years. I'm sure it's gone on to the next level. Chefs, they would have travelled with you at different times for big tournaments in particular over in, World Cups. I don't know if the chef travels everywhere with the team now. Maybe they do.
Full-time chefs?
No, they would come in and out of camp. No, so like just their full time for the period that obviously the team was connected. But then I presume they go back to their own world, whether they have their own restaurants or their own business. I don't know. But like with the Lions, we would have had the English chef would have travelled, certainly on a couple of tours, and lots of variety, lots of vegetables. Couple of meat options. The funny thing is, the teriyaki salmon thing. I didn't eat salmon the whole way through my career. About 6 months after I retired, I started eating it, and it was an option almost every other day in camp. You're kind of going, you idiot! You miss so many opportunities for great source of protein. So, it's and then the day before games, you'd be treated so in you're in the Shelburne. The night before the game and for a home match, we used to get bread and butter pudding, which was tradition, and it was exceptional standard, really, really good in there. So you'd look forward to that, and you'd be like taking a good portion because you're going to burn it off. But like in the early years when we started out, wait till you hear this. So we used to get on a Friday night, you'd have dinner at 6, but then Friday night we would have like 12 pizzas from Domino's or 4-Star or whatever delivered to our bagman's room, and there could be like 8 or 10 litres of Coke go with that, and everyone would head up to clean their boots in Rala's room and have a couple of slices of pizza. And actually the only reason it was removed was because they were worried about food poisoning, not what the quality of the food that we were putting into us, but actually food poisoning, and that's only why that went. So I must have had, I'd say I had 3-4 years of the pizzas, and you'd
what sort of year is this?
So 99 to 02, 03, yeah. So I like when you look back, we had great times, and we had such a laugh, and it was a really tight group, and we got on great with one another. But the missing link was obviously understanding what that expectation was. Maybe there was too much fun and too much of a laugh versus. Now, I suppose you look at the team and they're very successful. You hope that they're having, a good portion of fun and camaraderie and enjoyment, and it's not like next game focus. It does feel that the game has come to a place where do you get to really enjoy the great victories? I hope they do. Yeah. I hope they do. I hope they're taking them on board, because we really enjoyed the good victories back in those early days. For 3 days sometimes.
And maybe it's a stupid question. I always wonder, like, do you ever go out in the pitch where you probably haven't got your eating right and you feel like you're too full or you're hungry or you need to go to the toilet and you're sat in the Lansdowne Road with 60,000 people?
Not really. I'll save the details of it because I'd actually be embarrassed about.
Oh, please share. This is an open space.
I went excessively on the sauce the week before an international match.
Okay.
Back when I should have known better, and I had a good few nights in a row, and I came into camp feeling absolutely horrific, and I was not right till Thursday. This is a Sunday, and I genuinely only felt properly myself on the Thursday. I was I was 4 or 5 years into my career, should have known better. Yeah. And I played on the Saturday so scared on the back of what I had done that I would say I played probably one of the top 5 games of my Irish career on pure fear.
And still half dying of a hangover.
No, that stage it had flushed it out, but like I trained so poorly, and I think I would have always prided myself in trying to be, a very good trainer, low error count, driving standards, and I remember the Monday I was brutal, and I was just so annoyed with myself that I had let this happen, but it's funny how fear is such a driver at times around focusing the mind. So. Yeah, I did that on Saturday, and I played, not possessed, but I played with real intent, and that I had to make a point that what went on before was
Did everyone know what went on before?
I don't know. A few of my pals, a few of my close friends, one or two that might have been out with me, and a few of the nights would have known. But I think probably even in my appearance, I'm sure one or two lads would have, so I couldn't let that affect my performance. So, it's funny, the mind over matter piece around getting your head dialed in around what you need to do, and almost being belligerent to how or at odds with how you might feel physically. But if you can get that right mentally, I think it's just a strong and powerful tool.
And would you say your poor performances were as a result of perhaps being too comfortable, or not being prepared, or feeling like it was going to be easy?
Yeah, I think there's different reasons for it. Sometimes you're not 100% fit. Someone might know you're carrying an injury. I would have always felt that if I was 80% fit, I'm there to do a job. I remember playing in a game in Twickenham in 2010. We beat them in Twickenham. It was the third year, and 6 that we'd beaten them in Twickenham. Actually got a really bad knee in the head from Paul O'Connell, accidental. At least I would think it was accidental. But I remember I was in bed Thursday, Friday, didn't do the captain's run. I had a flu, and I came out on the Saturday of the game, and the game started so fast. The first 5 minutes, I was like, oh no, I've made a bad mistake here. I can't survive this. And then, thanks be to God, the rain came down. And it slowed the game up. And I was like, okay, maybe I have a chance. And so, at 65 minutes, I got a knee in the head from Paulie, a stray knee. And I was actually trying to play on, and now you wouldn't get it. You wouldn't have any say in the matter. Anyway, just with the illness and this, I was told, listen, you're better off going, which I was. And anyway, we won the game. But I think, you look back to certain moments of how, what point can you feel as though you are capable of playing, and injury or illness, or why else would you be off? Just sometimes you don't have a good day.
Yeah.
I think everyone has it, where you just can't get it together, and then maybe you chase a little bit hard, trying to not pull a rabbit out of a hat, but you end up compounding an error with another one, and gets on you, and there's just sometimes be days like that, right?
Thank you to Barry's Tea for supporting this podcast. Barry's Tea holds a special place in people's hearts, not just because it tastes amazing, but because as Irish people, Barry's Tea is one of those special things that connects us with home and that sense of belonging. We drink it in cafes, in restaurants, at book clubs, when we're out hiking. We even bring it on holidays and drink it all over the world. No matter where you are or what you're doing, one sip of Barry's Tea and you're home. And in preparation with food, like, I've always been fascinated. Say you're playing a big game. How does it work? When do you eat lunch? Like, are you eating in the dressing room before a game? Are you eating at half time? How does all that work?
3.5 hours before kickoff would have been my marker. So, it really depended if you're in camp. More often than not, go with much the same thing. I would have been a pasta guy. And you're not even tasting it, it's literally
you're not
just
seasoning this up.
I don't care. You're just that's the only time that it's nutrition. You're not thinking about how can I tweak this? How would a little fennel be like here? I don't know why I chose fennel. I actually don't like fennel that much, but I did see that. I did see it. I did. I've nudged it over to one side, but you're just thinking. Right, our pancakes, yeah. something to get into. And I always found that if you weren't struggling to get your pre-match meal in, you weren't sharp.
Okay,
I always encouraged the butterflies, the feeling unwell, and it's really hard. The 1 o'clock kickoff, I would eat pancakes rather than pasta at 10 o'clock in the morning. And then at home you find something that works for you. Living with a housemate, wanting to be left alone, don't want to talk to him the day of a home Leinster game, then to live on your own, and then changes when you're living with your wife. And then she knew as well around
routine.
Game day, just you want my own space, being able to focus, and you have a routine around what you do, chicken and pasta, and then off you go.
Were you a nightmare to live with?
No, I don't. I just was quiet.
Yeah.
I think just quiet, and I wasn't someone that really lived it in my head before it happened. I wasn't someone that kind of was big on visualization. I was maybe more reactive to to the situation you found yourself in. But I think I just wanted to be in my own space. I just didn't want to use unnecessary energy in conversation, or just to be with myself.
Yeah.
And be left alone.
You mentioned a couple of times that you're turning into your dad.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing? As he gulps some water.
Some parts are good. Like, I literally just go around my house turning lights off. So like that's one part that I can appreciate with him. Like literally like 3 times a day. It's not even I have to do something. I just go through the house to see what's on. My son's bedroom or bathroom light, definitely that'll be on. My daughter's bedside lamp, that's 100% going to be on. The playroom lights, they're going to be on. The downstairs bathroom, they're going to be on. So I'd say I've done it.
So you had a big impression.
2,000 times. We're only in the house a few years. I think he's got. We're quite. We're dissimilar in many ways. He's probably a lot more naturally outgoing than I am, I'd say. If I look back to my teenage years, there's definitely an introvert there that then came out as a result of captaincy around rugby, about being projected into public domain. And so all of a sudden there's another part of your personality, comes out or has to come out. And then, maybe at times I find myself reverting back to that now, where, I've only, the tank of conversation is only, it needs filling.
Yeah.
And that time of being on your own or going away, and just sometimes I go walking the dog and I'll put my earphones in. I won't even listen to music, just to be with yourself. And so they're kind of PFOs to anyone that might want to have a conversation with you on route. So I think people, so when I say that to some people that I've spent a lot of time with, that there's a little bit of an introvert to me, they go, would you piss off? But I definitely do think there is around.
Would you have been a confident
teenager?
kid?
No, absolutely not. Not at all.
Who were you?
I was just, because I was sporty, I suppose I fit into a crew, but I was the quiet one in there, happy to be, never a ringleader. And that's why the captaincy thing was such a weird part for it to be thrust upon me, because I never saw myself in that role. I never captained any underage teams. All of a sudden, it was kind of from obscurity that I was chosen to be national captain, having no experience previously. So for me, might have been a shock to everyone else. It was a major shock to me, because I definitely didn't feel as though I had the qualities and the attributes needed to be a good captain. And listen, there was so much to learn when I started out, and you go to the foundations of what you feel you can be good at, and then you build and layer on top of it with other aspects, get other people to speak. I wasn't a great orator or public speaker, and so I'd get others to speak on my behalf. And things like, the post-match like meals that we used to have in the Berkeley court, the black tie affairs, and like delivering that speech used to stress me out no end.
That shocks me.
Like 350 people going up, and like the first time I did it, I was given a speech by the communications team, and I went up, and I can only describe as I read this as if English was my second or possibly my third language. And so when you read it read something, you have to nail it.
Yeah.
And I thought, I can never do that again. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it my own way, do it my own style, and have fun with it. And and I said, if that doesn't work for them, I'm okay letting it go. And so you've got to find your own way in everything you do. I'm sure in being a chef and in finding your own style, what works for you, what actually is your USP as well. What's going to, not that you're trying to differentiate yourself, but you're just trying to be true to yourself. And that was a real work on for me to understand who I was going to be as a captain and as a leader. So to revert back to maybe a bit of an anxious teenager, used to get the dart over to Blackrock College as a 12, 13-year-old. That used to stress me out about the prospect of being late. Lateness is a real problem in my life. Like, I was here 30 seconds to go. Yeah. Like, I've got sweat. I've got sweat on my back because I couldn't find parking, and that's very, very unlike me. So, and my wife will definitely be testament to timekeeping being a big thing.
And then I'm gonna go. I want to keep it more on the food as well, but like, if you didn't have sport, would you be the same person? What would you have?
No, I don't know. Like the lads used to, Raj used to take the piss out of me, going, geez, look at you now, you're living the dream. If you weren't living this life, you'd be a bank teller somewhere, you know. Like, thanks a million.
The most bland job imaginable.
No disrespect to the bank tellers out there. But I would have been involved in sport in some capacity.
Yeah, okay.
But I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I left school. It all kind of happened very quickly for me, and to become a pro and then do it for 15 years. And then the life that I've subsequently had, it's so alien to any thought that I would have had as a teenager versus, versus you think about them now coming through school, they think about being professional rugby players. I didn't have that option. It turned pro at 15, 16, the game, 17. Right, the game turns pro, so you're not going, oh, I must try. You've no idea what that actually entails, even as a 17, 18-year-old. So it happened like literally kind of almost overnight that I was playing Ireland schools into 21s, and then kind of elevated before my time into the national team as a 20-year-old. And sink or swim, and you survive. And obviously the Irish team was at a very low ebb, so maybe it was a good time to be able to come in and look as though you made a difference. But yeah, I suppose, and that's why, I didn't make school teams when I was 15 in Blackrock College. I was on the bench. As a 17-year-old in Blackrock. So I think it's such an important thing for younger people to also know that it does, I think different things happen for people at different times.
Did you think you were good at that age?
I knew I was decent. I was skillful and talented, but the nervousness, I would have been afraid of my own shadow as a 14, 15-year-old, because it was small. And I can see it in my middle child, who's a keen rugby enthusiast, but he's a lot braver than me as a 9-year-old. Now, I only started playing rugby at 12, but he must have his mother's toughness, because I was like nervous around making tackles about head going in the wrong place. Yeah. And then when I grew 17, 18-year-old and started hitting people, and you make an impact and you hurt people, and you kind of go, that felt good. and that kind of grows on you. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, you lose the fear around injury, about collisions, and you almost enjoy the tasting your fillings. You're like, because if you're doing that, the other guy felt it too. It's much easier in yourself than watching your kids having, those injuries, potential head knocks and all that. That's another conversation. But my son broke his collarbone as a 7-year-old playing rugby. I thought, oh my God.
And you're the parent on the sideline.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I'm not my dad in that regard. My dad was so vocal. Okay. And I was like, Dad, please be the second loudest dad. Okay. You can still do your thing. So I'm very conscious around I don't say anything. And actually,
surely everyone's like, oh, there's your man.
What makes it even more challenging is myself and Sexto's boys are on the same team in St. Mary's. So the two of us are on the sideline together. So like, neither of us really say a whole lot. Yeah, we just watch and see what's going on and let them enjoy it. I think it's so much. Oh, would you like your son to be a professional rugby player? Let him just enjoy it. I don't know. See where it all goes.
I'll hit you with a few quick fires.
Yeah.
Before you go, obviously with food, and you can give me short answers. You can give me long answers. Whatever you want.
Okay.
What you had for dinner last night?
I was actually over in Sexto's for a barbecue.
Oh wow! Come on, tell me.
Yeah.
What's on the menu there? Who does the cooking?
He was. He did steaks on the barbecue. Very good. Little kind of rice, salad, oven chips, and tomato and mozzarella salad. Very tasty.
Do you judge when you go to houses like this?
Like I like it's a barbecue.
Yeah.
You know.
That could be a new career for him.
No, he's good. He's good. Yeah, he got the meat spot on.
Was there wine?
Yeah, there
Beer?
was wine. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Retirement life.
Yeah, he likes his wine too, so you know you're going to go drink good stuff when you go over there.
That's the best thing about working in restaurants in Dublin. You get to see all these people, and you get a little look behind the scenes. What are they ordering? What are they drinking?
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely become a little bit of a wine snob, so I'm okay with that when I'm in his gaff. Him less impressed when he's in mine. No, but you have to make sure you can bring him a good bottle when you're going over for food. So and then we brought dessert. We brought just like some like.
I hope you made
square.
this now.
No, I didn't. No, because we were away. I was away on on Saturday down. We only got back at mid-afternoon and then straight over there. So yeah, just we bought some like Rocky Road type stuff and profiteroles and things in the place around the corner. But the profiteroles were unbelievable. I'm going back for more of them.
Your signature dish? You're on a first date. You need to impress.
Like I'll probably just do like a tomahawk. It'll be probably beef. And then like slow roast potatoes, steamed and then cooled, and then like 2.5, 3 hour roasties, slow to slow temp.
Nice.
Get them really crunchy on the outside, soft in the middle, a little bit of rosemary and garlic, half an hour to go. And then like for Christmas dinner, I'll make gravy sometimes with joints and then usually freeze it for like Christmas dinner or whatever. I haven't really done the making gravy thing, but it's like there's something on a joint of beef, there's something lovely about it. You're like your own. It's just different. So that probably.
You think about this stuff.
Oh no, I do. I love food so much. I really do. It's such a major part of my day around planning in advance.
Yeah.
Around my missus is going to the shop today. I was like, what are we having for dinner? Yeah. It's her turn, so we'll see. But even just making sure that, like yesterday, I was staying in a pal's house, and like when you're in someone else's house, you don't have the kitchen, and I was like, I didn't really eat until lunchtime then. I was about to keel over. So that for me, I like the control of making sure I know what food is coming. Okay. I end up going to my car for like a snack bar. I hope he's not listening to this.
With your headphones in and no music playing.
Yeah. Antisocial.
Takeaway order, we've been through that. Zaytoon, 6 a.m. Lovely. Worst meal of your life?
I will give a shout out, and you might know, during COVID, night market on takeout was, for me, between it and the Butcher's Grill, the two of them were like, so they're probably go-to with takeaway now. If you're not going to go to the restaurant, I would say a night market, the way it I think it travels the best. So for me, when you talk about, okay, Zaytoon was yesteryear. It was a long time ago since I've had a kebab. I'm glad to say I've sophisticated my episode to the night market spot. But yeah, I think that's really exceptional food there. Or on a Sunday, Saba's a good one. You know, my kids have something that they love in there, so we'll people go and throw an Old Spice box in there as well, just as an extra on top of whatever you're having.
The worst meal of your life?
Oh, the worst meal.
Food or company?
Ratatouille.
Ratatouille.
Yeah. So courgettes used to be my nemesis when I was growing up.
Watery courgettes.
I hated them so much. And it's probably, I honestly say, they're probably the only food that I don't want to eat now. Like, I'll eat almost anything. I was in France recently, and I got some additional snails that I didn't know that were coming, and I'll get stuck into them, no problem. But courgettes, I just don't. I haven't ever had a courgette and thought, that landed.
I will agree with you. Of all the ingredients in the world, it does not inspire me in any fashion.
Right. Okay.
And then we'll finish on the last one. So, table of 4, including yourself, dream dinner guests.
God, that's such a hard one because you could dead and alive, or does it matter?
Oh no, it can be from any era. It can be
sport. I think you'll appreciate this, and I think I'm probably going to have to pick Tiger Woods.
Yeah, class.
I think I'm going to have to.
Be weird, but
The weird thing is that if you pick the 3 guests that I'm going to choose, you might get left out of the conversation. That's the problem. They'll end up talking to one another, but you'll get some great stories. So Tiger, I'm going to pick Bruce Springsteen because I'm a Springsteen fan, and he can bring the guitar and play. It's going to be it's food in my gaff, so he's able to. We're not in a restaurant, so he's going to be able to strum a few tunes. And then the other one, is I think I'm going to pick a comic. I really like someone like the intellect of someone like Dara O'Brien, but someone that I've really started listening to a little bit more of their humor, but also their smarts, is Jimmy Carr.
Okay.
I really think he's a fascinating person. So I think those 3 would be a really good combination. Plus, the lads wouldn't know Jimmy, so I'd be able to be brought into the conversation that way. Whereas if I thought about it, like maybe a Jack Nicholson, who you get unbelievable stories. Tiger, Jack, and Bruce, you'd be lost there. So I'm bringing Jimmy in just to break things. There's no cliquey stuff going on there with the 3 lads. So that's why Jimmy and I are going to be from this side of the world.
As a selfish question, before I let you go, you did play with Tiger Woods, didn't you?
I played a hole of golf with Tiger, yeah.
Any crack? So
we got to play this one hole of golf in Japan back in 2019. Rory, Matsuyama, Jason Day and Tiger were playing a skins game, and then because of Rugby World Cup was going on, 4 rugby players were partnered with them for one hole. We met them on like the 4th or 5th. Anyway, we've been practicing 7 irons. Next thing you get up, it feels like less than a 7 iron. And I'm standing beside Rory, who I know a bit, but not really well. And then Tiger, asks him what he hit, and he goes, 9. I was thinking about hitting a 9 then. I was like, I can't hit a 9 iron now. So anyway, I hit an 8 iron up. Funny enough, we're playing foursomes. We end up taking all of the pros' tee shots. Anyway, I knock in kind of 22 or 3 footer, right? It's going about 23 foot by if it doesn't go in, but it goes in, and there's high fives around, and I'm looking over, and Rory high fives me, and then I'm like, where are you, big cat? Get over here. And he goes over and gives me a high five, and I'm thinking to myself as I'm holding his high five, going, I wonder how long is weird for me to hold this up in the air so people can actually make sure you get a photo. Anyway, Mike Tyndall then, he marks his, Tiger marks the ball, and Tyndall picks up the quarter and puts the ball down and puts it into his pocket. And so Tiger's Tyndall misses the putt, so Tiger's looking down to see where the marker is not there. So he throws the ball down, knocks in the push from 12, 13 feet. Anyway, they walk off to the next tee. We all say our goodbyes, and they're finishing their round. And Mark Steinberg, Tiger's manager, comes over to Matt Dawson, who is an ex-teammate of Mike Tyndall's, and he goes, listen, Dawson, you wouldn't have a word with your ex-teammate. He obviously knows Dawson. He says, the quarter that he took from Tiger, that's the quarter he's used for all 15 of his majors. Tyndall was like,
wow.
Oh, word. So lucky he didn't have a pocket full of quarters. Anyway, took it out, and there you go. Hands it back.
On that note, Brian, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure.
Cheers.
If you like what Brian had to say, you can like and subscribe, leave a review if you want, or tell a friend. Listen to the podcast, and you can watch this full conversation on YouTube, and I'll see you next time.